Hi there, my name is Aaron Lanterman. I'm a professor of electrical and computer engineering at Georgia Tech, and I would like to welcome you to ECE 4450, which is my signature class on analog circuits for music synthesis. I'm recording this at the start of the spring 2021 semester, but I expect that this introduction will be applicable to future versions of the course as well. I've been toying with the idea of creating an online version of this course for a long time, and there's certainly demand for it because there's no other course like it at any university that I'm aware of. But it was the COVID-19 pandemic that gave me the final push to put in the work to do so. So whether you're a Georgia Tech student signed up to take this class for credit, or if you're a member of the community just following along, either way, I hope you enjoy it. The roots of this class go back to 2005, when I was trying to figure out how to get my Oberheim OBMX to play in tune. The OBMX is a strange beast. It bears the Oberheim name, but Tom Oberheim had nothing to do with it. Gibson had bought the rights to the Oberheim name. It includes a famous ladder-like low-pass filter designed by Bob Moog, although Moog didn't have anything to do with the OBMX either. It was actually designed by Don Buchla and Lynx Crow, although management at Gibson forced it to be released before it was really finished. So I got a hold of the schematics and started looking them over, and then at some point I realized that I had no idea what I was looking at. When I started at Georgia Tech in 2001, I was mostly focusing on digital signal processing and statistical signal estimation, and was mostly a theoretician. I did lots of math, like many of my colleagues. I had forgotten all of the circuits knowledge I had from my undergraduate days. So I offered to teach a special topics class on this material in order to carve out time to learn the things I wanted to learn myself by making it part of my job. Theory and design of music synthesizers seemed like too long of a name, so later I changed it to electronics for music synthesis. I originally included digital synthesis techniques, although I later decided that the course would benefit from greater focus, so I decided to tweak the course to focus just on analog techniques. Digital techniques would really need their own course to fully do them justice, although if you're interested in virtual analog, where people build DSP algorithms to emulate analog synths, certainly understanding the circuits of the original analog synths is a good place to start. In spring 2014, my family and I spent a semester in Metz, France, where I taught at Georgia Tech Lorraine. One of the classes I taught was ECE 2040, which is a standard sophomore introductory circuits class. So I sat down with a stack of introductory circuits books and started working through some practice problems and realized they were giving me a lot of trouble. And this was really embarrassing because I'm a professor of electrical engineering, and I had been teaching this class about circuits for music synthesis for ages. So why was the most basic material in my field, in which I have a doctorate, giving me so much trouble? And then I finally realized that the way I approach circuits is that I first try to figure out what the circuit is trying to do, and then try to figure out how the circuit is trying to do it. And the circuits in the problems in most basic circuits textbooks don't actually do anything. They're nonsense circuits. Sure, you can find the current through this branch or the voltage at this node, but it doesn't matter. Nobody actually cares. In addition to this class about synthesizers, I teach a class called Guitar Amplification and Effects. And although both classes cover different material, both have the same meta goals of getting you to develop an intuition about circuits. Consider this schematic from the Paya 9720 voltage-controlled oscillator. Suppose you wanted to analyze this. Well, guess what? You're not going to be writing down 120 node voltage equations and solving them. You're going to have to recognize particular subcircuits and figure out how to break it down and analyze individual sections, and then figure out how those sections hook together. A classic analog synthesizer voice consists of an oscillator feeding a filter that feeds an amplifier. Now, there's no shortage of textbooks and classes that will explain how to make oscillators, filters, and amplifiers, but those oscillators, filters, and amplifiers usually either have fixed characteristics, such as a fixed waveform and frequency for an oscillator, a fixed frequency response for a filter or a fixed gain for an amplifier. Or perhaps you might have control over some of those characteristics, such as the frequency of an oscillator or the cutoff of a filter via a physical knob, usually a potentiometer. This class will largely be focused on taking those kinds of known designs, but tweaking them to make their characteristics variable by an external control voltage. So you don't have to turn a knob, you can just change that control voltage. And that was the main development that Robert Moog on the East Coast and Don Buchla on the West Coast came up with independently, and it's what launched the modern synthesizer revolution. I'm going to assume that you know some basic linear circuit theory about resistors, capacitors, operational amplifiers, and that you can analyze some simple circuits using node voltage analysis, including characterizations in the frequency domain, which are important in the second part of the course when we get into voltage-controlled filters. At Georgia Tech, this material is covered in ECE 2040, which is for ECE majors, and also ECE 3710, which is a survey course for non-majors. We'll mostly be operating at the integrated circuit level in this course, although there are a couple of places where we will be designing with individual transistors. In the few cases where we do deal with transistors in the raw, I'll be fairly explicit about exactly what model we're using for those transistors in those particular contexts. So, if you're familiar with the idea of a voltage-controlled current source, you should be okay. It'll be helpful for you to know your way around an oscilloscope, either from ECE 3043 or ECE 3741. If you're not a Georgia Tech student and just following along and would like to either brush up on this prerequisite material or learn it from scratch, I would highly recommend the Coursera courses by my colleague Bonnie Ferry. The notion of transfer function analysis for linear systems will play a role. In particular, we'll consider the way the placement of the poles and zeros of the transfer function in the S-plane affect the frequency response of the system. This kind of material is usually covered in signals and systems classes such as Georgia Tech's ECE 3084, but we won't be getting into such things in too much detail. We won't need to do anything really complicated like compute partial fraction expansions or invert Laplace transforms. Let me quickly say a few words to graduate students in music technology who may be signed up for this class. If your undergraduate degree is in electrical engineering or computer engineering or physics, you'll be fine. If your undergraduate degree is in something outside of that, like computer science, send me an email and let's chat, because you'll probably be better off dropping the course officially and just sitting in.